But Bennet, can you
Sure.
briefly?
Sure. Thank you, Judge. I'll be mindful of the time, and then I'll be more than happy to respond to any questions. I think the thing I just like everyone to keep in mind is something a wise judge told me in this area of criminal law. I think it's important that everyone not think that there's anything as an easy solution on the table. Sure. In something as complicated, as complex as Alabama's criminal justice system, and in particular the issue of prison crowding, anything that you see floated out there as an easy answer is probably based on limited information or faulty assumptions. There are no easy answers, so I just want everyone to keep in mind it took us a long time to get in the situation. It's probably going to take us a long time to get out, and it's going to be through a variety of complex and not so easy policies. There's no easy answer out there on the table. Why is that? Well, in Alabama, in our criminal justice system, all three branches of government have their own unique responsibilities and inherent authorities that influence different aspects of the criminal justice system, particularly who goes to prison and how long they stay in prison. Traditionally in Alabama, reform efforts have dealt with a singular branch of government. They've dealt with either just sentencing reform, primarily in the judicial branch of government, or they dealt with instituting a second parole board in the executive branch of government, or tinkering with kind of marginal laws and policies in the legislative branch. That's not going to work in Alabama. If you just tinker with one branch of government in the criminal justice system, the other branches of government have the opportunity to ameliorate the effectiveness of any reform that you have in a singular branch of government. So any reform package, you have to wrap around all three branches of government and get them all on the same page and operating together. If you don't do that, you're really just operating at the margins. You're never going to have sustainable change. I think for the first time in the state's history, this really is a bipartisan issue. The thing I always like to tell people, it always gets kind of a chuckle, I'm probably the only official that will ever get appointed by Sue Bell Cobb and Roy Moore. I think I'm pretty safe to say I'll be the only person in Alabama's history that ever has that distinction. But I think that shows you how much that people on polar opposite ends of the political spectrum agree that systematic reform has to take place. And it has to take place. It's amazing in criminal justice how people are more close to the middle than the fact that they're more close to the middle on this issue than the fact they are on other issues. Just want to, more directly to Judge Johnson's immediate question, how did we get here? That's complex as well. We got here through a variety of things. We got here not only through our laws in Alabama. More conduct is currently criminal at the felony level in Alabama than any other state in the entire nation. More range of behavior is currently considered felony criminal conduct. Why is that? Any amount of any controlled substance in the state of Alabama is a felony. If you have a prescription pill that you don't have an authorized prescription for, that's a felony in the state of Alabama. It's not always the case in other states. We're also tied with other states with the lowest felony threshold for property crimes. Currently, if you have a property crime valued at $500 or more, that's a felony. In other states, it's $1,000 or more, $1,500 or more, or like a southern state, South Carolina, your property crime has to be in excess of $2,500 to be felony. But here in Alabama, it's $500. So on one hand, we have the most conduct that's considered criminal. We also have traditionally been a very tough state in sentencing law, particularly with the Habitual Offender Act, which Judge mentioned, commonly referred to as 3 strikes laws, even though in Alabama it didn't start at 3 strikes, it started with 1 prior felony. You started to receive enhanced punishment. So we have historical tough sentencing practices. We also had a parole board that had the authority to decide when people get released or not. So your sentence doesn't always dictate how long you serve in prison. In many instances, that's another branch of government that gets to decide that. The other thing that the state of Alabama did or didn't do, depending on which side you're on, is that we also didn't build prisons at the pace the rest of the nation did. Alabama chose not to take some federal money that was available in the early to late 1980s to actually expand our prison system, which inherently now is a different issue that I'm using my last minute to talk about briefly, that I think is an even bigger problem the state's going to face on the horizon. We probably have the nation's oldest prison system infrastructure. There's no doubt in the distant future the state of Alabama is going to have to construct prisons. Now that doesn't mean adding capacity. More than likely that's going to be in response to replacing existing capacity. That is going to be a large capital investment. One prison right now will probably cost the state $100 million. That's just a capital investment of $100 million. Take approximately $10 to $20 million to operate. The infrastructure we have in place is just not sustainable. We have not built a prison in almost 20 years now. That's our newest prison. We have facilities in use that are over 50 years old. And with 200% of capacity, things wear out faster. You have ovens, washer and dryer machines operating at 20 to 24 hours a day, things run out faster. That's what's happening to our prisons. They run out faster because of the expanded use. So how we got the situation, we've had a historical tough on crime stance that has been dealt with in law, and then we also have certain offenders have stayed longer periods of time than they would have in other states, and then we also have not built our prison capacity out the same way that other states have done either. So the result is that's why we're in the prison crowding crisis that we are right now.
Thank you, Bennet.